All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, guys, welcome to the broadcast. We're going to be talking about, well, let me move this out of the way. We're going to be talking about Finishers 10, and we're going to be talking about the BJJ Grand Prix that BJJ Fanatics, the No-Gi Grand Prix that BJJ Fanatics put together. I'm Brandon Mccaghren. That's Matt Skaff over there. And that's Joe Kai right over there. And I'm going to be mostly running the board over here. And these guys are going to break it down for y'all and tell you what happened over the weekend. I'll chime in every now and then. Skaff, I'll let you kick it off.
BJJ Fanatics $10,000 absolute tournament happened Friday night. I really liked it being on Friday. Started at 5:30.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. I know most of the time, most of these tournaments are doing Saturday, but I wish more tournaments would be Friday. But anyways, we had Kyle Bain versus Lucas Barboza in the final. Kyle Bain ended up winning by EBI ride time. There's a lot of really interesting stories that happened during the tournament, a lot of controversy, and a lot of really strong performances. Again, Kyle Bain ended up being the winner. He won, man, I probably won by a good minute or two in ride time. Hulk looked amazing. He showed way more submission savvy, I think. He went for a lot more submissions than I think people thought. And his EBI overtimes looked really good too. He ended up beating Nick Rodriguez in the semis. So
Yeah, I thought he was actually a pretty big surprise. You could tell on the broadcast that Gordon was doing the commentating with Rafa Sparza, and you could tell that they were Gordon was really surprised that Barbosa did as well as he did.
I think a big factor for that was probably his confidence. You could tell that Lucas was just a man on a mission. Like he when he attacked, he didn't give any real. He gave jiu-jitsu respect, but not any real respect to the opponent as far as the attack. Like he would just go straight into the attacks. One thing that I was kind of surprised about, but it led to his losing the finals. I think it was his escape plans with from the back, like the rear naked escape that he did. It was mostly like an alligator spin.
Yeah, like he did against Nicky Rodriguez.
Exactly, and I thought that it only worked because he's so powerful, and but you could tell that he didn't really practice really, and maybe that was his practice.
No, I think looking at it, it looked like that was what he practiced. Like he had the plan coming in. Oh, if I end up with one of these guys, they don't have a shirt on, and all I got to do is spin. I'm taking my shirt off, and I'm gonna spin as hard as I can, and that worked out perfectly against Nicky Rodriguez.
Very surprising.
and it would have worked out again in the finals, but I think they made a really good call, made both competitors keep their shirts on.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Kyle Bain tried to take his shirt off, and they're like, no, no, no. And then I'm sure they had told Hulk, like, look, we made a mistake. If you're wearing a shirt when you start the match, you got to wear it during overtime. But it definitely would have worked again. But hey, that shows you how much a rash guard matters.
Yeah, but what do you think about the rule though? Like, what do you think the rule should be?
That's a hard one because sometimes the whatever you're wearing is gonna cause you a lot of problems later on, especially in these longer, like 10-minute matches, because then it turns into weight that was accumulated from all the sweat buildup. So the luxury of being able to take off that whatever you're wearing, not only is it gonna make you have less friction, but it's also gonna allow you to breathe better too. Right?
Well, it's a huge advantage in the overtimes. Like, and obviously that's what Barbosa had picked up on. That, man, if I'll just take my shirt off, nobody can hold me in the back. And that was, like you said, man, that was probably true.
Definitely true. And I think you should be able to. When the match starts, whatever you're wearing, you shouldn't be able to just take clothes off, for the OT. But I think any professional tournament, you should be allowed to compete shirtless.
Oh, so you guys having trouble with the audio? That's interesting. All right, I will. Can you hear the audio, or is it just too low? It's like not loud enough. Because the mix is good on this side here. So need to hear top right guy through Brandon's mic too. That's not good. Well, y'all keep going. I'll work on it.
And then especially if you're one of these like big, swole divisions, man, honestly, holding the back is almost impossible. Even if you're big as well, like it's just when you have that much muscle like on your neck and your shoulders, and then plus sweat, plus fatigue, like it's. Do you see a lot of big guys playing a body triangle? It's like, how would you hold somebody that size?
It's just no. I mean, honestly, I think it does come down to just how good you are at the back. It definitely can be done. I mean, I think we saw it. I liked Hulk's strategy of the double underhooks. He did really well with that. I mean, both guys were absolutely exhausted, and Kyle just had a little bit more in the gas tank. But yeah, I mean, it definitely can be done. I think the single hook's a great strategy for when a guy's shirtless. It's just going to be coming down to training with somebody that's big and shirtless, you know, and because you're going to have to make changes, obviously. And this weekend, I think, showed again, not having a shirt on makes gives somebody a really, really big advantage for escaping the back. But at the same time, Paul Harris versus Andre Galvao is a great match where both guys are shirtless and both guys are about, as roided up as you could possibly be. And Galvao's back control looked amazing during that match and did a really good job. So.
Very true. I think it just comes down to understanding underhooks and overhooks, like you said. What about when people play like a halfback or maybe like a truck kind of back control?
Yeah, and those are the options that I think really matter when you are shirtless. The body triangle gives a lot of guys a false sense of how strong their back control actually is because they just use their legs. And when you can get that rotation and you can win it, as you saw like a guy like Hulk do, then you're going to need a couple of other tricks. So, yeah, it really comes down to, but again, if somebody's super, super, super sweaty, man, keeping that chest connection is almost impossible. So, there's definitely strategies, though.
Kyle did a pretty good job of holding that body triangle, though. He's one of the few, like, bigger guys. I think Gordon does that, too. Where they look like they just have such powerful body triangles. At least to get some ride time, if not a submission.
Yeah, and obviously those guys are a little bit longer, but let's get back to the tournament. First, we got to talk about the punch. Yes. Because I think that was probably one of the biggest stories from the weekend, and it was a very unfortunate incident, but it was clearly Tex Johnson versus William Tackett. So William Tackett's this up-and-coming purple belt, one of the best. He's one of the best competitors in the world right now. But him and Tex had a war, man. It was a really fun, one of the best matches of the tournament. And Tex was going after his legs. William just kind of pushed off, took his foot, pushed him in the chest to get some separation. And Tex just clearly made a close fist and punched William in the chin.
Yeah, and I really liked the reaction. Like, he didn't really retaliate, which was the best thing to do, because that could have spilled into something way worse. He just put his hands up like, really, what's going on?
Well, Tex has got probably 50 pounds on him. That's not a guy he wants to fight.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, I really have a lot of respect for William. He handled it great, but in my opinion, he should have looked for the DQ. There's just no place in that situation in professional grappling for anybody to throw a strike. And Tex should have been disqualified. And I think the tournament made a humongous error by letting him still compete.
I agree, because he clearly forms a fist and clearly budges it. Like, it wasn't like, oh, slip, but he was sitting down.
Man, and these guys that are starting to develop these reputations, there's a couple of them that kind of they like to push competitive. They like to push the buttons. Whether it's AJ Agazaram throwing slaps, him and Jake Shields and stuff like that. I think that we've really got to make a stand on. Look, that's against the rules. You're disqualified.
There was something similar going on with Nicky Rodriguez and Lucas Barbosa too. With I think it was just with the snaps and the collar ties, where got a little bit more aggressive, and it seemed like there was some bad blood in that match.
Yeah, and there's a bad blood between, I think, any Donahere guys right now and kind of the rest of the community, just because they're the guys winning. They're the most successful team out there.
Well, not just because.
Well, yes, and one or two of their members does talk a lot
Some
of
the
trash.
representatives make it harder for some of them.
Yeah, I don't think it's just because they're winners. Everybody's going to hate the winners. That's the way it works
Yes.
in every sport. It's no problem, but it's not just that. It's not just that. Anyway, keep going.
And yeah, I mean, Lucas made a big deal after the match to kind of say, hey, I'm not a regular black belt, I'm a black belt, I'm a real black belt, you know. And Nicky Rodriguez was wearing his black belt killer shorts or black belt hunter shorts.
Yes.
You know.
I think Nicky also kind of backed away from that kind of confrontation as well. He seemed like he just came there to compete. Like, he doesn't seem like a disrespectful guy or anything. He just seems like he just really enjoys the competition side. But Lucas kind of seemed like he wanted to make it into something more, like more of a pissing contest.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen some things from Nicky Rodriguez.
Same.
Some stuff that's very cringy. Very cringy. And obviously Gordon, you know, every other day it seems like he's coming out with some cringy things on his Instagram. Those guys are the ones that are making money, and they're the guys that everybody wants on their cards right now. I mean, it seems like those guys are on every other card. Gordon Ryan's got 3 tournaments coming up this month, and he is the best grappler right now. And Nick Rodriguez, I think, though, hard collar ties, that's perfectly fine. That's as far as, in my opinion, you can take it. It's kind of like, once you throw that punch, we have to make a hard stance of, you know, maybe even suspending a guy. Like, to me, Tex Johnson's the type of guy that, you know, you just go, hey man, you got a 6-month suspension. You can't compete for 6 months.
Yeah, but you can't uphold it because there's no
Exactly.
there's no community. There's nobody to uphold it. If I ban him from my promotion and you want the smoke on it and the YouTube views, you're just going to put him on yours.
Yes.
So there's no possible way to have any kind of. That's why the federations and stuff like that get formed. I mean, not exactly that reason, but I mean, that's a good reason.
Yeah, and I think it's important because you got to keep guys like that safe. Like, what if that would have broken William Tackett's jaw? He just wasn't expecting it, got punched, and now he's got a broken jaw.
Yeah, real talk.
Already a 50-pound weight difference. And Tex is already a guy that, man, he's had some questionable instances over the past couple of years of holding submissions. And some of this, again, that's a whole nother story. But what we saw Friday can't happen again, and in my opinion, should have been DQ'd.
And then you also got to sometimes look at it from the side of the person that committed the faux pas. Because sometimes, you know, when you're in these high-level tournaments, you have to have that killer mentality, and it kind of overtakes people sometimes, and they make mistakes. But like you said, there should be a clear.
Man, I've never seen a closed fist punch though. You know, I think when
from sitting down.
Yeah, it's kind of like the NFL. I mean, the NFL is the same thing. These guys are going to war. I mean, it is one of the toughest sports on your body. I mean, these guys are hitting each other way harder than we as grapplers are hitting each other. And when that guy took off his helmet and hit the other guy, I mean, they suspended him indefinitely. Like, he might not ever be able to play football again. And I think that's the type of thing where, look, you get one closed fist punch, like, you're looking at 6 months to a year suspension. But again, since there's not a governing body that can fine, I mean, in my opinion, that's the type of thing like Tex should be fined. Like the NFL, like if he did that in the same, like we have that governing body, Tex would have been fined, and he would have been suspended for, you know, how many ever months or games. You know, I mean, obviously the NFL does that, and that stops a lot of the craziness.
Yeah, and there's no real way to, like Brandon was saying, there's no way to fine people because only the top percentile of people even making money. So what do you fine them? They actually have to pay to get there. You know?
Exactly, you know, and that's what really holds the sport back, and I think that's where the future is going to be in 5 to 10 years. We talked about that on the last stream, was just we need contracts. We need professional organizations to, start stepping up. And again, they're doing amazing. There's 5 or 6 that are just doing absolutely amazing. But, where the competitors aren't paying out of their pocket, where the competitors can feel like they can go for submissions more. Because last time we were talking about how right now, since you are paying your own way, well, if you lose, you might lose out on a guaranteed super fight, money coming up. Like, winning is so important that a lot of guys don't take the chances because, a loss in this sport can sometimes be you're losing DVD money, you're not getting a DVD deal maybe, you're losing out on seminars. And so contracts would allow somebody to go, okay, I know over the course of the next 2 years I'm going to make $200,000. I can put it on the line a little bit more.
Yep.
So
let's talk about some an actual respectful fight. How about that Joe Bays, the old school Joe Bays, and Corey Guitard? Is that his name?
Guitard. Yeah, I think it's Guitard.
I got introduced to him this weekend. I never really knew anything about him, but he's active.
Yeah, he competes a lot.
Yeah, Joe Bays, man. You know Joe Bays pretty well. I
Oh,
competed
yeah.
against Joe Bays, so Joe Bays, one of the best leg lockers.
He's probably the best leg locker nobody knows about, right?
he's in there that category for sure. Crazy straight ankle lock, and then also he's been representing that world before it was cool, and in an area where we don't even really do a lot of that stuff back in the day. Nowadays it's popular, but yeah, out of where is he out of? Kentucky.
Nice guy. Yeah, nice guy.
guys.
So, yeah, Joe Bays did really well. It was just cool to see him out there again. He works a full-time mining job. And it's just, and he's old, man. He's probably 40 now. He's been in Abu Dhabi. He's done a lot of things, and it was cool to see him out there again. My favorite competitor, I'm a big fan of Jason Rao. Jason Rao is, he's got some of the flowiest and just technical jiu-jitsu. I really like his match with Quentin was insane. There was about 50 leg lock attempts in like 3 or 4 minutes, and yeah, it was really interesting to see how interesting, just to kind of see how Jason handled the leg locks. Like you said, he stayed very composed.
There was a moment I remember in that match where they had a reset, and then Quentin was in almost close to a heel hook, and Jason was trying to tell the refs like, hey man, this is, it wasn't quite that tight, because when people reset you try to get even just a little inch if you can. But even though Jason didn't make a big deal out of it, I like that. He kind of was like, okay, whatever, and still composed, came out of that leg entanglement very smooth.
Yeah, and finished an Aoki lock.
Yes.
They interviewed him right after it. Flo Grappling did. And I thought Flo did an amazing job with the event. The stream was awesome. I wish they would have had 2 full-time announcers. Like, they needed a team that stayed there because Gordon was constantly in and out, and they were leaving Raph
He had to ref a few
Esparza
times.
by himself. And I think that was... I would have liked to, again, just see 2 guys stay there and maybe have Gordon come in and out. But you need 2 permanent guys that are just going to be the whole event. But, yeah, it was really cool because they took Jason right out and asked him about that. Right after. He's still breathing hard, and they're like, hey, tell us about that leg and what'd you end up catching him with? Were you ever in danger? And we got to see that side of the competitor right after that just really intense match, and I really enjoyed that.
I got the audio fixed, I think.
Oh yeah.
That was a struggle. I'm not a smart person, and I apologize. Luckily, it was something super simple.
Turn up the volume.
No, it wasn't quite that simple. It did take a little bit of technical knowledge to understand, but not that much.
Let's give a shout out to Kyle Baum of Boem.
Hey, man, I want to hear everybody pronounce his last name. Go.
Kyle Bame.
I say Baum.
I heard Bohm on the broadcast.
Yeah,
It was 3 different.
like
I
a
thought it was
Bohm.
Kyle Bame. Like, they kept saying Bohm on the broadcast, and that's what Roth was saying too. And he usually goes through the trouble to get it right. So
Boem?
I don't know.
Where we going?
I like Bame.
Bame?
Yeah, I think if we just get to pick, I like Bame the best.
I do too, man.
Yeah. What about Bomb? He should be Kyle Bomb.
That's what I thought it
He's gonna
was.
blow up your knee, dude.
Well, I mean, is Kyle right now? Did he just enter in the top 10 pound for grapplers?
Right after
I mean,
getting
he's
a black belt.
absolute
Maybe.
tear right now.
That's crazy.
Maybe. Like, I think you can make that argument without being laughed out of the room for sure.
Something clicked for sure. In the
I don't think
past
he's
year.
lost this year. I think he's
Dude,
undefeated this year.
Let's if all he did all year was this last tournament
He's
where
still
he
there.
went
Yep.
subs, 2 quick subs, and then he goes. Who did he beat next?
Jason
Yeah, it
Rao.
was Rao, and then Tex Johnson,
Mhm.
and then Barbosa. Just
Yep.
bang it,
World
bang it,
champ.
bang it. Those 3 guys alone will make the argument. Much less that he heel hooked 2 dudes before. Man,
And I love that he plays like a little man's game. When I say little man's game, I mean like he's butt scooting. He's looking for entries from the bottom.
but he plays a strong man's game. Too.
Yeah, the
He's
same. He mixes it.
incredibly aggressive and athletic. And
Yes.
powerful.
His back, you're going to see his back muscles
You can see the 2
ripping out.
lines.
Yeah,
You see
it's
the 2 lines down the spine.
it's crazy. And I think anybody that, you're wanting to do these tournaments, I think you really have to look at your strength and conditioning program because all these guys are just absolute monsters. And you see the 2 guys in the finals were on probably the 2 most jacked dudes at the tournament.
Yeah.
Something to that.
That's one thing though that as jiu-jitsu purists, quote unquote, pass for a lot of us because a lot of us we look at people like Marcelo Garcia that they preach just go do jiu-jitsu all day every day. So it kind of it's the debate of should you supplement your jiu-jitsu with strength and conditioning? Will that actually help your jiu-jitsu or will that take away from the technique time? Or are we just being lazy and not wanting to go lift weights?
That's what it is.
It's probably
for me.
that one. Yeah, that's for me, Alex.
I think it's 100% undeniable at this point. Well, how many of those guys also were doing steroids or doing tons of those? I could totally get it, but I know a lot of those guys, especially a lot of these older Brazilian guys that we really look up to. I'm sure a lot of them were doing steroids. And to me, you can't make that. All I do is jujitsu because
I don't think
studies.
that's true at all. Nobody only does jujitsu. I'm agreeing with you.
Yes.
Like nobody ever only does jujitsu. Like if you stretch, oh well, you got to stretch what you're not on your own to like,
Yes.
what are you taking protein shakes now? What are you so weak you can't grow muscles and do jujitsu? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I remember Oxford had a study come out that was fascinating where they took 3 different groups of people where they took somebody that just worked out. So all they did was work out, didn't take any supplements. And they did this over the course of a couple of months. And they took somebody that only did steroids, like they only did testosterone steroids, and they didn't work out. And then they took somebody that did steroids, worked out. And the guy that did no working out, so he didn't work out at all, and just did steroids, gained 3 times more muscle than the guy that just that worked out 3 to 4 times a week. Yeah. So that should tell you okay, if I'm doing steroids and doing jiu-jitsu, you're still going to get strong.
I thought you were going to say the guy that did only steroids, his name was Andre Galvao.
Dang. Shots fired by Joe Kai. I want y'all to hear that Joe Kai.
I hope he doesn't hear me, dude. That dude will
Hey, Andre,
murder me.
Andre is definitely not listening to the show.
Andre, if you're listening, my name is Brandon Mccaghren.
Hey, man.
You can find me at 10th Planet Decatur. Sign up for brandon.mc.ninja.
But yeah, I think that's really important to you gotta recognize that competition is a lot different than just pure jiu-jitsu. I think you study, or excuse me, you show the technical side of jiu-jitsu in the gym when you're training, but it seems at this point you need to go out there like an animal. You need to go out there and try and murder somebody.
Well, it's war. It's representative of war. That's what it's supposed to be. And I do think the best way to get good at that is to develop the technical prowess. But what do you use the technical prowess for? If you're a competitor, use it to go out there and make war on your opponent. But that's what the technical prowess is for. And that's not the case for everybody. If you're a competitor, that's That's what it has to be, man.
I will say the people that I see that are top world champions and ADCC, all that, when I go on their Instagrams, they're lifting weights. Heavy. So that, you know, there must be a reason.
There's even a discussion to be like, it's not even a discussion. Of course, you should be doing as much strength and not as much, but as much intelligent strength and conditioning as possible.
Obviously, the more you have it tailored to your specific sport. So again, a quarterback in the NFL, I love the NFL, like looking at it just because it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And so they have everything figured out. And I think jiu-jitsu, we can learn a lot from organizations like the NFL. And what are they doing? Because they're the top athletes in the world. Just no argument. And look, a quarterback lifts a lot different than a linebacker. You know, it looks completely different. Their body types are completely different, but they all have a strength and conditioning program. I know most of the quarterbacks, what's fascinating, the quarterbacks seem to be all about Pilates. It's all about just joint health and all about keeping fluid and making sure that you can, you know, hit those angles when you're throwing the football. Where linebackers, it's all plyometric strength, tons of explosive jumping, explosive lifts, Olympic lifting. And it seems like jiu-jitsu, a lot of guys seem to prefer, the competitors, I should say, most of them really like those Olympic lifts. They like lifting heavy, and they like getting as strong as possible.
And I think a lot of the problem is this sport is still pretty much in its infancy. So there's no real funding. We talked about that earlier. So, you know, if you're already and it's an expensive sport. So if you're already paying for membership, you know, and then you already are spending hours within that membership, where do you find the time to work out in between your, you know,
That and
your
life.
real life?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, the real truth now of the sport is that if you're at the top, you don't have a real life. That's the truth.
It is your life.
It is. Like you're not gonna get to the top without like fully committing. Like it's happened a few times. Like Stipe's still a firefighter, right, at the top of the UFC. Yep. Okay, there's an exception that rule, but like even the kids that are winning the kids worlds and stuff, they're homeschooling so that they can train jiu-jitsu full time.
Exactly.
So it's not an amateur's sport at the top anymore. It's a thing that all of us amateurs, or us, myself, I'm speaking for myself, all of us amateurs do so that we can be involved in a sport where the professional athletes play. There's professional athletes now.
But it's still, I think, very important for longevity, even if you're just a hobbyist, that you supplement your jiu-jitsu with some kind of exercise regimen, whether it be, like you said, for dexterity or movement or joint health, because this is a lot of what is it? What I'm trying to say, stress on your body for years, and if you just leave the gym, go home, take a nap, you should probably at least try to touch your toes or something, you know.
Let's go. We got anything else we want to say about the BJJ Fanatics tournament?
No, I think we covered it.
Kyle's a monster. That's about it.
The main thrust of the story is, does this throw Kyle Bame into the 10?
Yeah, Kyle and Hulk were the two best grapplers. I mean, like, they were both monsters, and Kyle ended up just besting Hulk.
He definitely had the better style for this format.
The thing that I thought, as far as format goes, that was really interesting was I didn't think Barbosa really outshined him in the regulation portion.
Exactly.
Like, he didn't dominate him and like mount him and take his back, and Kyle just survived or whatever. Like, Kyle kept him from passing in a meaningful way.
Yep.
So Barbosa didn't put together any attacks against
those
Kyle.
long legs.
Do you recall any attacks that Barbosa was able to put together? Any extended control period?
No, I mean, it was a pretty even match. Not a lot really happened. Overtime was very exciting because it was going to decide who won $10,000, and both guys went after it. So I think Hulk broke.
I think he broke. Yeah, I think he
broke Kyle Bame's Yeah, so Kyle was missing a tooth after the tournament, and during it, after the first OT, you saw Kyle
Constantly was on it, man. He's
Jeez.
like, I got my tooth knocked out. Yeah, I think
And
you're right.
so now you have to ask yourself, is losing a tooth worth $10,000?
Depends on if you have dental insurance. Because if you have dental insurance,
If you're a professional
sure.
jiu-jitsu player, you probably am.
Yeah, yeah. It costs you $11,000 to get it fixed.
Let's go to this Finishers 10 tournament. And
Oh,
while we
yeah.
talk about Finishers 10, I'm going to let this video of Grace Gundrum's highlights play in the bottom
She
corner.
is terrifying.
So, Skaff, kick it off. Finishers 10, baby.
So finishers 10, we saw Evan Levy. I think he was probably the shock of the tournament.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yes.
I had heard the name just because obviously he's Amanda Levy's brother. Amanda's really big into the scene, so I knew she had like a younger brother that competed. But he was thick, man. Those legs were humongous. He was definitely didn't look like a little
Thick.
brother. And it was him versus Alan Sanchez in the final, and Alan Sanchez ended up finishing a rear naked choke in regulation. So Alan Sanchez did his thing, man. 10th planet out of California.
Dude,
San Mateo.
I was so surprised by Sanchez's performance. Not surprised, but like he just seemed like he had a rough road to the finals as far as
Man, he always does that, though. Like, he gets to the back, he passes well, but he doesn't, like a lot of 10th planet guys, the positioning top or bottom is not that big of a deal to them. So they don't fight. They won't fight for the points.
he
So
ended
he'll
up in
fight on the
overtime a
bottom.
lot. Like he was spending that whole he gave us our money's worth. You know?
Well, I was really, really impressed with Silver Fox's guy. I thought he beat Allen pretty good during regulation.
Who,
he
Galarza?
looked absolutely amazing. Whoever that guy is,
You don't remember his
dude,
name?
you are. It was something.
Here,
really
I wrote it
wrong.
down. It was Galarza.
Yeah,
It was Enrique Galarza.
yeah.
And
There we go. I'd never heard of him, but you
Dude.
looked. That dude was amazing. I
Galarza,
loved his style.
Galarza was doing this, and a lot of people were doing this in the tournament, but I think Galarza did it the best. He would do a head and arm control to the back take. Like a lot of people were using a head and arm to quickly take the back, and Galarza's like passing and pressure. I thought he was going to win against Sanchez, but Sanchez just stayed composed.
What we really saw this weekend, and this is the tide has changed. DDS, the best EBI overtime players anymore. 10th planet is. Nick Ronan versus Alan Sanchez.
Yep.
Alan Sanchez won. I mean, Silver Fox is in that. He's in the Henzo network up there. Alan Sanchez would have lost decisions in both of those matches. Did amazing, and especially the final match performance was absolutely amazing. But in my opinion, he would have lost both those. Like if we're doing decision or fight to win or points, any other rule, any other format, Alan would have lost. But E EBIOT,
And
10th
that's
planet's king now.
There's a lot of controversy about whether the EBI overtimes are right or wrong, and I think there's arguments on both sides of that. But it does determine a winner. There's not if that's the rule set we play under, it does give us a definite winner, and so I like it. I still like it. I think for grappling, it's still my favorite rule set, other than the quintet.
My favorite part about the OTs that people overlook is mental strength, because man, you're already tired. I mean, how many times did we see in that tournament that people were almost out of back attack or a submission, but they just needed one little more push, and Sanchez was just great at just staying composed and getting out and getting the right times whenever he was in T, which I was like, and against people like Ronan, I think Ronan took his back at one point. And he just slowly just worked his way out into like a half guard and a seated guard, and then, got the won by ride time, after being pretty from the bottom the whole time. I thought that was pretty. But Levy, dude, thick legs, man. And leg attacks. Isn't he out of
He trains with Gary Tonin and
yes,
Almeida.
since he was like 15 or
Hard
something?
Almeida.
Yeah, he's like a
Yeah.
juvenile champion or something.
How old is he?
Now he's like 18 now, 18, 19.
He looked like a grown man.
Yeah, I missed this match, but he beat Mike Carpenter in like 30 seconds,
Mhm.
which I had Carpenter going to the finals off of that side of the bracket. So that was real shocking to me.
Yeah, I had Carpenter in the semifinals, and I was like, man, who is this? And I
Who
was
is
like,
that?
Evan Levy. I was like, oh yeah, that's Amanda's brother. But yeah, he got Carpenter real quick.
But that was my first time seeing him. Dude, I love finishers. I think it's probably, yeah, it's one of my favorites to watch, man. If you want to see the up and coming guys that are about to be on EBI and they're about to be on these, I guess, quote unquote bigger shows, but finishers is kind of one of the bigger shows now. But they're all coming through finishers.
Hey,
right
respect to Rosa as well. I mean, he was in the Levy final match. Like they were throwing some leg lock heat at each other. Like he
Rosa's
didn't back
amazing.
away. Yeah.
now. People don't talk about Stanley Rosa.
He just has never won. Like, he'll have good performance. He looked good this finishers, but he didn't win. And I was picking him to win. I was like, man, this is his time. Like, he's going to win. And dude, Evan came out of nowhere. And, I mean.
Yeah.
And also,
Evan was the guy to stop him, too. It
Yep.
needed to be Evan because he's thick and strong. I think that maybe physically he would have presented some different problems for Sanchez in the final.
dude, Sanchez was aggressive in the final. Like he was real kind
his
of
final was
reserved, but
His
in the
final
finals he was like
Honestly, it looked like Evan was just exhausted.
And if anybody should have been exhausted, it should have been Sanchez, in my opinion.
Nah, that's dude. And he doesn't fight. I'm saying about these 10th planet guys, the ones that are out there competing at this level, they just don't care about the top bottom flip. They don't fight for it either way because they know, what are you gonna do? Pass my guard? How hard is it to recover guard? Hey, it really ain't that hard. If you're a little patient and you're not worried about the points, you can slip that knee back in, get back to your spot.
Well, if I'm being honest, and this is what's going on, okay, and this is why 10th Planet's going to continue to dominate these rule formats, is I feel like a lot of the other teams have moved on. Like now it seems like DDS, they've been focused on ADCC. Ryan's not doing CJJ. Like they don't really have guys doing CJJ, and so they're not as focused, I think, probably on the EBIOTs, and so they're falling behind. That's to me what I saw.
I feel like their focus has drifted.
Well, they're just all doing super fights at Polar. Like they're all doing these formats where the training camp isn't solely. I mean, those guys were solely focused on EBIOT. Where 10th now, we just have evolved into. I feel like every school now, not every, but a lot of the schools in the organization are going to win their local EBI rule formats. They're the ones winning finishers. We're winning, just look at Kyle Boehm now. Kyle Boehm has won. He's beat Tex Johnson both times, just EBIOT. Beat Hulk, EBIOT.
One trend that I saw was even if the person was losing during regulation, if they were a 10th Planet member and the other person was not, even if they were getting dominated,
100%.
They usually would win the OT.
10th Planet has got a stronghold on the best EBIOT competitors.
And when you say that, if you're looking at it from the outside, you might go, "Oh, so what? They're good at EBI overtimes. Where does that exist? In every match where somebody gets the back or an arm lock,
Stay
offensively
alive.
or defensively."
It's the same thing as these gi schools masters that take advantage in 50-50. It's the same exact thing.
Yes, except that doesn't translate to killing.
Definitely.
And being good at the back translates to killing, and being good at back defense translates to surviving.
Well, but the argument is, and I even saw it a couple times, like guys just try and bash the rule format. I go, oh,
'Cause they're not
I
good at
can't believe that this guy gets to start on this guy's back. Like, and it's like, look, I can't believe that your hero won a championship by 2 advantages. Like, it's the same thing.
Judge's
I can't
decision.
believe the dude you think is the best in the world can't finish when he gets the back of a guy that just got his black belt. I can't believe that.
I like the people that chose Spiderweb. Like there was the Galarza Sanchez. I remember there was some Spiderweb OTs in that one, but it was kind of rare.
A lot of people in the
what do you think
finisher
about that?
side were picking Spiderweb.
Yeah.
Where normally you don't see that at the upper weights. I think there's a time for it.
Tex Johnson won 2. He
That's a
beat
gamble.
Keith with with the arm lock from Spiderweb, and he beat William Tackett with arm lock from Spiderweb.
Yeah.
But
too much
yes,
smaller guys though.
that's what I was going to say. Much smaller.
Let's get to Grace Gundrum.
Oh, please,
think
because
we're
I
gonna-
got some.
We're gonna run out of time before we talk about Grace.
First of all, can I just talk about how crazy that crucifix entry was from bottom
That was
that
the
Grace?
best thing of the night. That was the best thing of the week.
I was like, whoa! I had to rewind that like 7 times.
Dude, you know what that was? That was Chad's ginger snap, and she rolled it into a crucifix.
It was
I
sick.
think we just have to put Grace as one of the top 3 105-pound grapplers in the world. Big issue
Agreed.
is there's just not a lot of women
105-pound grapplers.
that are under 105-pound grapplers competing, and so it's really tough to find Grace a challenge, right? Like that's going to be the problem.
Same exact argument that Gabby Garcia gets, but it's on the other end.
Yep.
It's like, how good is Gabby? Well, I don't know. There's nobody for her to fight that's her
That's
size.
in shape.
Yeah, except that there was a bracket full of girls Grace's size.
Yeah,
so
they
you can-
were, and good
it's
girls
not
too.
that much of an argument. There are definitely 105-pound grapplers, but the talent is way smaller. Good news though is Grace doesn't have to compete at 105. She's good enough that
She can go
she
up.
can move way up the ladder
Yep.
and beat a lot of good black belts. She was technically flawless all weekend. It was
Yes,
it was
She-
incredible.
it's just forward.
She was just so much
attack.
better than the other girls. I really liked her match with Rikaku from Quintet.
Quintet.
I think that was her match where you just went, "Oh, this is how good she is," because we all know how good Rikaku is.
Rikako's a world champion.
Because you could watch this finishers and just go, man, like she just dominated. She was way better. The other girls weren't black belts. I think most of them were probably purple belt, and but Grace was just a purple belt. But Grace is, I don't care what anybody says, she is one of the best black belt level
Yes.
grapplers in the world.
Facts.
Male, female,
Doesn't matter.
big, small.
Just-
Grace, in my opinion, is as clean technically as
Yes.
anybody that you'll see.
Did you see her like electric chair sweeps?
Yeah.
Used.
Well, she used the electric chair, but it was the way that she found it.
Yes.
So naturally,
Just
during the
smooth.
pommel.
Yep.
She's amazing, dude. She's amazing.
And that high elbow. Ugh.
That's the girl before, the girl she finished that with had just finished Linda Mahaley,
With the high
put her
elbow.
to sleep
Yep.
with the high elbow.
Same.
And Grace comes out and goes, "Oh, high elbow."
And it was a
Beat
lot
this.
cleaner and faster and smoother too.
It was
Jeez.
crazy, dude. Crazy. All right.
I want to do some shout outs to the undercard real quick.
Okay. Shout out the undercard. Before
Man.
we go, what else you got on Grace?
Man, I just want to see Grace. I want to look more at the future for Grace, just because I think she's established herself as that. You're a top 5 talent in the world,
Yeah.
like regardless of belt rank at 105 pounds.
Let's see
I
her
would
in
like
some
to see
super
her
fights,
get
some
Polaris or
There we
something.
go.
That's what we need. I mean, and that's what I want to see. When I did my preview show before the weekend, I said the one person to watch is Grace Gundrum. Like she's Gordon Ryan of the females for me.
Yeah.
Like when Grace is competing, I'm
gonna
watching.
watch it.
I'm gonna make sure that I catch it. So
How big is Musa Messi? Or what's
Tammy Musumeci.
yeah,
much bigger.
Bigger, but they're small.
that's what I was gonna say. They're
She's not
small.
big, but she's bigger than
Tammy's
Grace.
like 125.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
20
that's
pounds.
small. That's what I'm saying. But like 105 to 125, that's humongous. I mean, that's like me being
That's like
170
20%
fighting
body
Tex
weight
Johnson.
almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like me fighting Tex Johnson.
Yeah.
I'm 165.
Oh,
Anyway, so first of all, I just want to say that John Vena and Chris Crawford fight, I thought that was like
I actually didn't see that
fast
one.
paced. It was fast. It was a little. The entries were great. The control was a little sloppy, but that's just the purple belt
Just the
thing.
fast-paced.
But man, they just kept a pace that was ridiculous, and that turned out to be, in my opinion, more of like a whoever gave up mentally lost, and nobody could really secure. But it was a fun match to watch. Another one that I just thought was really fun to watch was man, there was a guy that was I remember Eric Naples and Mikey Sanchez. Now I don't know who Eric Naples is, but apparently he's like a IBJJF medalist at Worlds or something, Nogi. But I think he had the best passing and in the whole tournament. Even though he lost by OT to to Mikey Sanchez, he was just passing at will.
Mikey Sanchez, is that the guy that ran at Wagner Rocha during combat jiu-jitsu? that ran at him with the crazy hair?
No, this is like these were like I
That
think
guy's name was
purple
Mikey
belts.
Sanchez too, right?
Yeah, I think these were like purple belts or blue belts or something.
I
But
have to go back and watch that. I didn't see that.
I
was
highly
trying
recommend.
To watch the UFC.
Mhm.
I had company. I had the.
I just didn't watch the undercard. I was watching basketball. I had just done like 8 hours, basically like 12 hours with Mindset Mike over the course of 2 days. So I was like, I need to watch some NBA, man. I got to clear. That is my jiu-jitsu clear is NBA basketball.
Highly recommend Eric Naples. Just watch how
can see the
fast and crisp he passes with hip passes, and man, it was just like, okay.
All right. Well, we got to get to class. Where can we find you on the Instagrams? And all that?
I'm at Jokai _ on Instagram. On Facebook, I think I'm just Jokai. But guys, if you're trying to hit me up, just hit me up on Instagram. Add me, follow me. That's pretty much
At
it.
BrandonMC.ninja on Instagram. Make sure you like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell.
At Matt Skaff, and make sure you guys check out the Grappling Discourse podcast. There's 21 episodes already, and yeah, it's just my new podcast, so check it out.
Next week, guys.